I don't understand.
Hey,
so what is it that
relax.
you're eating that's giving you? What is it you're eating that's giving you diarrhea? Oh, are we live?
No,
we're live. Do you have diarrhea? Is this what's happening?
No.
Oh.
The best thing to do. The diarrhea is too obvious and too easy. The best thing to do is, and I used to do it to my friends all the time, is when you kind of like at the end of a conversation, you kind of go, "Yeah, so did you like get convicted or anything for it?" Or and then you just kind of like let it go, and they're like, "Oh wait, what?" Some type of felon or something.
Oh,
man, who knows what they could have done? Yeah. What's up, folks? We are live. This is the Heroes World podcast presents the Sidekick show.
H-dubs.
Yeah, H-dubs is Rob likes to call it. If y'all want that to stick, start using it.
H-dubs.
But yeah, unfortunately, Joey can't be with us again. She's still on assignment, so hopefully she'll be back with us maybe in the new year or something like that. But me and Rob will carry on without her. So
I heard Joey, she's actually lining up outside of San Diego for next year's Comic-Con. That's where I heard she was last. That she's like, I'm first, and yes, you are.
I thought you were going to say outside of KFC today. KFC did a Cyber Monday 50% off everything, and people went bonkers. So
really,
yeah, you waiting hours and hours for chicken.
Well, well, you know what? I'm surprised Charmin didn't come up with a 50% off 12-pack, because after all that KFC, there's gonna be a lot of diarrhea.
And with that note, I'm going to roll the intro, and hopefully it'll play properly. Or we could just leave it at that. No, let's play the intro and give it a shot.
Yeah, let's hit it, John.
And we're back. So I don't know how it sounds. It always sounds fine to me.
Yeah, no, it was double. It's playing it twice. That's the problem. I've just figured it out. It's playing it on top of each other.
Okay, so maybe I have encoded the file improperly, if I could speak. Yeah.
How much have you been drinking?
I didn't. I opted for water, and I'm actually regretting the decision right now. I was like, I'm going to be healthy, but I bought a brand new bottle of Johnny Walker. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, isn't it behind? Should it be behind you?
Let's go. Yeah, so everyone's saying it's double. So I'll go back to the drawing board on that and redo a new file. Thanks for tuning in, folks. This is the Heroes World Sidekick Show live edition, and we have got a lot of stuff to talk about. Although, comic-wise, I actually was pretty busy today, so I didn't get a chance to look at the new books. So I'm actually just going to talk a little bit about the DC upcoming Future State event. Yeah, because our pre-orders are going in now. So if you want to get a bunch of these books, it's best to hit up your local shop or hit us up. Let us know what you're interested in. Especially, there's a lot of new character things happening. So especially the Trinity. I'm going to mention the Superman here is the Clark and Lois's son character, Jonathan Kent, I think he's called.
Yep, Jonathan Kent. Yep.
And then we have a new Wonder Woman, 2 new Wonder Women actually, but I don't think they're showing the third one right now. But this new Wonder Woman here. She's going to have a new book, and she is, I think, from Brazilian Wonder Woman.
I think that's what, yeah.
And then this new Batman here, who's got his face completely covered. And if you start looking around on the net, that has actually been spoiled and revealed. So you can find out what the deal with that Batman is. Although
I heard, though, that's fake, that face was fake. Yeah? I read that it's a fake out, that face is a mask. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a double blind or if somebody just made that, but I read that.
Oh, interesting.
I got to say, though, I actually like the design of the full mask on this one. Like I know they've done a full mask on Batman before, like Batman Beyond, but this is Jim Lee, right? Is it a Jim Lee drawing? It's at the bottom left. No, who was that? I don't know. Maybe it's not Jim Lee. I don't know.
Try and check here.
But regardless, that Batman just looks sick with that full face.
Dan Mora.
Okay. Yeah, it looked well. So first of all, it's a great looking splash page. But yeah, that Batman looks awesome.
Yeah, so this is the DC Future State preview book. So hit up your local shop or come see us, and we'll give you a copy of this. It looks pretty sweet. The pre-orders are pretty much going in now, and I'll quickly run through the titles that are going to be showing up. So we're now pre-ordering the first 2 weeks of basically January. So you get the new Batman title, The Flash, Harley Quinn, Superman of Metropolis, Swamp Thing, Wonder Woman, Dark Detective, which is kind of like the traditional Bruce Wayne Batman book, Green Lantern, which is John Stewart Green Lantern, Justice League, Kara Zor-El Superwoman, Robin Eternal, Superman Wonder Woman, and Teen Titans. So those are the titles that you're going to be looking to pre-order right now at whatever your local shop is, and hopefully it's us, and let us know. And they're all going to start dropping January and go for 2 months. January and February is going to be this future state event. So I think that is going to be pretty fun. And you can get this copy here. I should hold it up. The Future State preview book, 1 per customer. Some people try to snag like a stack of 5, but you got to share.
Is that Grifter on that?
Yeah, so I'll probably picture up one more time so we can kind of point out. So yeah, so you see Grifter is here, and he's supposed to be a big part of the new Batman arc. So maybe they're going to be pushing him in this series. Also in the back here, you can see this guy, Red X. I believe he's a character from the Teen Titans animated series. Okay, I saw him a couple of times in Teen Titans Go, and he's like kind of like a newer villain. So I don't know if there's like a Batman Beyond type thing. So there's a lot going on in this picture and a lot of new things that should be very cool.
I just wanted to point out something, is that looks like there's 2 Flash characters there.
Yeah, there's multiples of each character. There's like actually 3 Supermans in the picture. I'll prop it up one more time.
Yeah, sorry. No, but I wanted to point out though. Okay, so the Flash that I'm looking at, the girl with the blonde hair, she's got amputee, like she's got the blades on her legs. But if you look at the complete opposite side of the page behind that Batman underneath the Catwoman, that looks like somebody else who has something similar there, right? So I don't know if what that is, but
I can actually look up who that character is called. So that character is called Blast Boy.
Okay.
And then the Flash that you were looking at is the Flash. So this girl over here with the blonde hair is actually titled as the Flash.
Okay, listen, man, I think that's pretty cool, right? I mean, having a character that, for whatever reason, is wearing prosthetics. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I got for today. I'll go back to the new releases next week, unless you guys don't miss them, and we can just talk about hot stuff at the shop and skip the general list. But Rob, I don't know. It's Thanksgiving weekend over in the States, so I don't know if any news hit. Man, it was super slow, I got to tell you, because of, as you said, Thanksgiving. But you know me, John, I scoured the interwebs to find some news to talk about for this show. I'm actually going to kick it off with a massive event that happens tomorrow. You know what tomorrow is, John?
Tomorrow is the day after Cyber Monday, Tuesday, December.
Yeah,
1st.
December 1st.
First
of all, which is bananas to think we're at December 1st already. But actually, tomorrow is the culmination of this like 16-week Marvel Nexus war that we've had on with Fortnite. So tomorrow at 4:00 Eastern is a live event where you're going to see Galactus come down and do some serious shit. I'm assuming he's going to blow up the entire map as a new season starts on Wednesday. That will not be Marvel themed. So this will be the end of the Marvel crossover with Fortnite, which has been a lot of fun, I got to say, as a guy who enjoys comics. And I've only been playing Fortnite because of my kid, but it's been a lot of fun. So tomorrow is a huge thing. It's so big, actually, that both my kids, I have to log into their system for like 1:30 to secure a spot so they can watch this live event tomorrow at 4:00.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
Priority seating.
There you go. So that's tomorrow. Hey, John, we've talked a lot on this show and on the main show about a movie called Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84. Do you remember any of this?
I vaguely remember. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since they're supposed to be out.
So listen, get this. Patty Jenkins was doing an interview with Geek Magazine, and she put this, and I'm going to quote, this is her quote. This is a story that Jeff Johns and I came up with and then introduced to Warner. And I'm talking about a spin-off from Wonder Woman. Okay. So she's talking about doing a spin-off, and she says, quote, "The events of this story take place after Diana leaves Themyscira. And there are some twists and turns linked to what will happen between Wonder Woman 84 and Wonder Woman Part 3. The production of the project has not officially started, but I hope we get it because I love this story." So to summarize, Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns have apparently cracked some story that is a spin-off of the Amazons that takes place after Wonder Woman leaves Themyscira and will take place sometime between 84 and whatever this Wonder Woman 3 project she's talking. So Will this happen? Will we actually see an Amazon spin-off movie? Well, who knows?
We haven't even seen the 84 one yet.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminded me of when I read this. It reminded me of how James Wan was going to do the spin-off of Aquaman called The Trench. And I'm fairly certain they're on pre-production on Aquaman 2 right now. So I'm assuming The Trench is not going anywhere. So at any rate, that's what Patty Jenkins is saying. Whether it happens or not, who knows? We'll see. But maybe we'll see an Amazon spinoff down the road. Now, something else actually kind of happened. I think it was yesterday or Sunday, and that was a big day for Marvel Zombies in terms of Marvel heads. We have Daredevil. Marvel proper has now reassumed the rights to Daredevil for its for broadcast rights, whether it's television or movies, thereby taking it away from the rights off of Netflix. So it's reverted back to Marvel, and there are calls for Daredevil to be inserted into the MCU. It's interesting though, because like when this happened with the Fox properties, with at the time Daredevil was owned by Fox, and it kind of went back to Marvel, if you remember, and people were super excited that Fox didn't have any more of that stuff. Or even the Fantastic Four, when Fantastic Four came back to Marvel off of Fox, people were super excited about it and what that meant. The problem with it, well, sorry, not the problem. The interesting part about this one, though, is that the nerds are completely divided. Some of them are very happy and excited for Matt Murdock to be part of the MCU, and the other half are really pushing to save the show, the Netflix show, to save the cast, to have the cast actually ported over to whatever Marvel is going to do with old Hornhead. So it's very interesting to see such a divisional line between the community as to what they want to happen with this property. But I can't help but think, when last we saw our friend Spider-Man, who was in a little bit of trouble when J. Jonah Jameson may have spoiled his identity, I would think a character like Peter Parker would maybe need some legal representation. So could we see Daredevil in Spider-Man 3?
Daredevil cameo?
You might get a little Matt Murdock. Hard to say. Who knows? Speculation, kind of a hope on my side. Now, yesterday, I know we have some Doctor Who fans who listen to the show or watch the show, and that's cool. I'm a bit of a Whovian myself, so don't worry. Yesterday, Doctor Who, the BBC dropped their annual holiday. It used to be a Christmas, but now it's a holiday show. They have their trailer for it. It came out yesterday, called Revolution of the Daleks. Fan favorite Captain Jack Harkness is back. You may remember him as Merlin from Malcolm Merlin from Arrow, John Barrowman.
Ooh, I like him.
Yeah. So he was part of the original kind of reboot of Doctor Who, and then he took off. He spun off his own show Torchwood, and now he took off to do some Arrow, and now he's kind of made an appearance this past season of Doctor Who, and is now part of this upcoming holiday season. Again, it's called Revolution of the Daleks. Two big things. One, obviously, Captain Jack is back, and two, it looks like they've redesigned the Dalek machines. A lot of kind of controversy about whether it's just looks a little bit too weird, which is something saying a lot for Doctor Who people, but whatever. That is dropping on New Year's Day in the UK. Now, dollars of donuts, you're going to be seeing it here on New Year's Day as well on CTV Sci-Fi. No official word, but they always do same day broadcast. So we'll be seeing it New Year's Day on CTV Sci-Fi for sure. And finally, hey, John, in the category of who asked for this, there's a new Predator movie coming.
Yeah. I don't know.
No,
there is. You know what? I've been fooled several times, so I got to hear the cast.
Okay, well, first of all, we don't know. What happened was it's being directed by Dan Trachtenberg. He of 10 Cloverfield Lane. Did you watch that?
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
No. Okay. It was a quasi spinoff to Cloverfield, and they had filmed that movie, and nobody knew. And it starred Dan from Roxanne. What's his name? Anyways, John Goodman. Thanks. But there you go, buddy. They filmed that under the radar. Nobody knew. That's because you guys share a name. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that this movie was coming out. So it was a complete surprise. I think that Dan Trachtenberg was quite upset because he wanted this new Predator movie to be somewhat the same. He went on Twitter and was somewhat upset that the news had leaked and spoiled as far as he was concerned. But he did confirm that he has been working on it for 4 years. No information on cast or plot. However, a recent story seems to suggest that this takes place like way in the past. We're talking like pre-colonization of the Americas. So you're going to have the cast will be mostly made up of either Indigenous / First Nation actors fighting off the Predator. So this is like a historical Predator movie that is in development.
A period piece.
That's right. Yes. From the studio that brought you Shakespeare in Love.
In a world.
In a world run by corsets comes the Predator. At any rate, we no idea on a release date. Again, surprise, surprise, 2020 being what it is. Maybe 2023, but it looks like we're getting another Predator movie.
Did you watch the last one?
Dude, I've seen all of them. I went to the theater to see the Olivia Munn one, just called The Predator, directed by Shane Black, who, as you may know, was in the original Predator
the first
movie.
One. He was the guy with the big machine gun, right?
The glasses. He was the guy that kept making all the jokes, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't
the first
good.
guy to be skinned alive, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. It was
I've heard, like, all over the place. I've heard some people say, "Oh yeah, it kind of keeps the spirit of the original one," and then some people just say it's like total awful trash.
Well, do you remember when we talked about our worst movie brackets and we had mentioned Ang Lee's Hulk, and I had said 2 words, Hulk dogs?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. 2 words, Predator dogs. So, you know what I'm saying? Like right there, I'm out. It was not a very good movie. So I will say I just watched the original one a couple weeks ago, and I have an affinity for. Yeah, man, I actually like the second one, Predator 2 in Los Angeles with Danny Glover.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
Right, but that's just me because I'm a big fan of Lethal Weapon. So anytime he does it
on his own, like he's like just a dude on the street, right? I don't remember if he was a cop or whatever, but
he was a cop. Yeah, LA.
I actually should rewatch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I've seen the Schwarzenegger one like a million times. So.
Yeah, with Dutch. So at any rate, that's where we are, man. We might be getting a new Predator and whatever. I couldn't care less, but we're getting it anyways. So John, man, that's on a slow news week. That's all I got for you, man. That's the news.
Yeah, all right, that's all right. You know, so we got a lot of other fun stuff to talk about. Let's hit up the chat for a quick second and greet some of the people. What up, Frazier? What up, MC? MC was with me on the Toying Around podcast or stream last week.
I saw that on Thursday.
With dinosaurs.
He was doing something with that dinosaur. Let me just tell you. Like,
and Scott jumps in and he says, Predator. He doesn't care about Predator no more, and he's totally is he right? I don't know. I care a little bit.
Well, did you ever watch those Predator versus Aliens movies?
I think I watched the first one where I think there was a predator that would go around destroying the evidence with acid. I felt it was really like elaborate that he's like, got to cover my tracks and burn all this stuff away. You know what I mean?
Jonathan AVP, right?
Yeah. Jonathan Yo mentions, how can you have an alien predator fight and not have an alien dog predator dog fight? I don't know. Yeah,
there shouldn't be predator dogs. No predator dogs. That's really what it should be. Why?
Yes. Predators are so cool. There's a company called NECA. They make the toys to have the Predator and Alien license, and they make a ton of different predators. Laser shot predator, like ultimate hunter predator, city predator, and predators are friggin' cool. Like the main reason I wanted to see that new Predators movie was they had that big giant predator guy, and he looked friggin' awesome. Like he came in like a really tall action figure box. He was bigger than all the other figures.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that guy. He was pretty cool. But because the last one you saw, was it called Predators? That was one where they went to the world, the planet with Adrian Brody. Did you see that one?
I know. Oh yeah, I did see that one. And it had Walter Goggins in it, right?
Yeah.
The camera guy, and didn't it have Lawrence Fishburne in it as well?
It might have. It was directed by Robert Rodriguez, I think.
He was like the crazy like older guy, and he was like kind of like hiding away from them. Right. I remember it being okay. It was okay, I thought.
Okay, true story. I actually have all of them.
Yeah, I'm like, you probably
except
have
for the
them
last one. Except for the last one, I didn't get the Olivia Munn one because as much as I love and respect Olivia Munn, she's not believable as a scientist.
No.
Just in that character, that role, it was not believable.
I think she needs a good director, and maybe the director just let her down and wasn't able to. And maybe it was just a poorly written role. Like if you ever watch a show, which I'm surprised you haven't seen,
I know,
the Newsroom.
Yeah,
she is absolutely amazing in it. Like definitely, yeah. So here, Jonathan Yo says, he was the crazy guy. Yep. All right. All right. So let's dive into a little bit more. So let's talk. What were we going to talk about next?
Well, Sunday, yesterday we did on Sunday's show, we did a recap of Mandalorian. I guess this is the 5th episode of season 2, or otherwise known as episode 12, right? Called The Jedi.
13. Yeah, called The Jedi.
Yeah.
Featuring Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe 13. Yeah. Rosario Dawson, first of all, as Ahsoka Tano. So if you haven't listened to that or watched that podcast, I would definitely recommend going back. It's not that long, about 40 minutes or so.
We keep those tight.
Andre may or may not have liked the episode. All I can say is, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, it's very hard to discern whether he did or he didn't. He comes out and he gives a definitive answer, but it's really hard to determine that or not, because he has no inflection in his tone. He was just very straight, matter of fact. So he gave a lot of points. Andre's got a massive wealth of knowledge and deep cuts on the Star Wars universe as a whole. So he really, this is his passion. So, did this week's episode live up to what because he's always mentioned Rebels and Clone Wars, right? So did it live up? We'll see. But man, as somebody who wasn't I didn't watch Rebels or Clone Wars, I saw the first 5 episodes. My buddy Neil was like trying to like chirp me today on Facebook on our post about it. I watched the first 5 episodes of Rebels and I was out. But man, so I don't really know much about Ahsoka Tano, but man, Rosario Dawson looked awesome, didn't she?
Yeah, she looked good in the role. I just popped up the poster they released, so you can check that out. But the episode directed and written by David Filoni, Andre's guy. So definitely check out that podcast to see and hear if Andre is down with the show now. If this was the turning point, as we say. I love the episode. I won't keep that from you, but we'll see. We got three more left. So we'll see.
It is kind of hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
Like if you really think about it, we've spent a full year talking about season 1, and now we are over the halfway mark of season 2. So it is kind of crazy to think we got 3 episodes left.
Yeah. Did season 1 drop like right before lockdown? Or were we locked down?
No. We were locked down. No, because it came out in October last year of 2019.
Okay.
So there was no. Yeah. We didn't get locked down until March. So. I know this feels like a very long year, but it's gone by real quickly. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. And then what did we do? We actually on the same Sunday we had a podcast with the creators of a new book called Damned Cursed Children, and that was Howard Wong and Josh Strafford. It was a lot of fun. So if you want to hear about how they created this book, how they came about creating it, and like a little bit of like kind of behind the scenes of how they got it published and things like that, definitely check that one out. It's available on the live streams right now, so on the YouTube and the Facebook, and I think Twitch. It should still be on the Twitch, and then it will be added to our audio stream on Wednesday during our regular podcast release. So that was a lot of fun, and then those guys stuck around with us to talk a movie that Rob has often snuck into many podcasts, and I forgot how much I love that movie. So anyone in the comments now, we've got a little bit of a delay before you get your comment shows up in our feed here. So definitely jump in. We talked about The Crow, 1994, Brandon Lee, the tragic death of Brandon Lee, and man, was this a good movie? Like,
yeah, man, we talked and first of all, big thanks to Howard and Josh for coming on yesterday when we went live and recorded it. So if you're listening to this episode through your podcast stream, please go ahead and listen to what happens on Wednesday when the episode drops. We did, like John said, talk about their book, but we went really you could tell. First of all, those guys love what they do for a living, and then to hear that passion behind their project, and then to even hear them kind of geek out about The Crow and how awesome it was. Howard brought out this book. I think it was production book, like, you know, some photos of, you know, that they had printed off. And he had only ever opened it twice in his life, when he first got it and then last night. So he's had that thing for 26 years, and he was showing off some of the photos from the behind the scenes stuff. And that was awesome, man. I mean, yeah, John, you nailed it on the head. That movie is awesome. The Crow is a great movie. I don't care if it's a comic book movie, a horror movie, whatever. It is an amazing movie. And it's one of my top comic book movies, top 10 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We got Jesse in the chat. What up, Jesse? And he said he was inspired to watch The Crow today. So yeah, I want to know if it was your first time watching it, or you just decided to rewatch it and you forgot how good it was. But yeah, I had a couple talking points about it. I'll bring it up. There was a movie that came out, and it stars some pretty famous people, and it became part of a pretty famous franchise. But apparently, it was originally developed for Brandon Lee. I don't know if Rob knows this or not. If he can, it was going to be called Simon Says,
and it was a movie.
Yeah,
that was developed for Brandon Lee called Simon Says.
Yeah, and then it ended up going to pretty famous dudes, and it's part of Bruce Willis and I think Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, oh wait, was he? Oh, he was a Die Hard with a Vengeance. Was he supposed to be?
Die Hard with a Vengeance was supposed to be called Simon Says, and it was supposed to be a vehicle for Brandon Lee. So that I thought that was a pretty interesting little.
So wait, tidbit. So when after his passing, they retooled that and took that story and weaved it into the Die Hard.
Yeah, it got kicked around. That's why it doesn't really feel like a Die Hard movie. I remember it being a good movie, though. I remember it being a lot of fun. Like all these little kind of puzzles that they had to solve.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it in some time, but I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the other interesting thing I stumbled across was the idea that it's a rumor, nothing confirmed, as is a lot of these things in Hollywood, but there was talks that the Wachowski brothers originally were developing The Matrix with Brandon Lee in mind for the lead.
Wow.
Which to me, it does make sense, because he definitely could have pulled off a character like Neo. Other than the other famous casting is Will Smith as Neo, and Will Smith definitely would have completely. I feel like he definitely would have completely changed the character, but Brandon Lee, I think, would have fit in there, and they did incorporate a lot of martial arts in that movie. So I don't know if that was the intention, that he would have been able to do that stuff. I don't know if you've ever come across that rumor, Rob, or if you haven't.
I haven't. And the first thing I think about when you mention that is that you'd have two characters and both wearing the long trench coat. So I don't know if that maybe The Crow helped inspire the Wachowskis while they were writing it. Right? I mean, listen, we know these movies take forever. They're not just pounded out in a couple of weeks and all of a sudden it goes to film. These guys are working and retooling these things for years and years and years. So you're right. Maybe they looked at that as the inspiration. He was their inspiration for writing it. And then obviously with what happened to Brandon Lee, they had to shift gears, but maybe they kept that as a bit of an homage. So, because there really is no reason, if you think about it, there's no reason for Neo to have that long trench coat. In that, when he lands in that building, right? When he and Trinity go in to try to save Morpheus, there's really no need for the trench coat. Like, what was the point?
Maybe for the slow motion, they were like, yeah, let's give him a long coat, and like the suit with tails. They like, we can't fit that in, and we can't fit in a cape, so a long trench coat. Definitely, because it kind of covers your backside and all that kind of stuff, and it looks hella cool. Shout out to Jesse, who actually just confirmed that it was his first time watching The Crow, which is freaking amazing. So someone brand new watched The Crow in 2020.
That's awesome. But see, I want to know from Jesse, and I know we've got that delay, but you mentioned I want Jesse to be able to let us know. Did you feel that the movie was dated in any way? Because this is one of the things that we talked about last night with Howard and nostalgia
and the nostalgia fuel too.
Right. Is that if you notice, there's no cell phones in that movie, and the cars are quite old, but they're actually old for the time that movie was filmed. So it's very, to me, timeless in its portrayal of the city, of an inner city at night on Devil's Night on October the 30th, the rain and everything else. Like, you can't necessarily tell that it takes place in the early to mid 90s. So I would love to see if Jesse found that he thought that the time period was dated.
Do you think they built all those cities and it's on a back lot somewhere?
Oh yeah.
they light it and they throw rain at it and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it doesn't, I don't know if movies kind of, other than, I think TV shows, a lot of TV shows you're watching, you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's completely fake block. But for movies, but it really fit in with the movie because everything could be like kind of just blacked out. I think some of the guys last night mentioned when he's running across the rooftops, you can totally tell it's some type of soundstage, but it's kind of fits in with the flow and feel of the movie. And yeah, you're right. All those cars, because it was done in 93, 94. So we did have Japanese cars on the road and things like that then. And they definitely picked a bunch of American muscly, big,
so they were classic
sedan
cars for that time period as it was anyways, right? So you know what, in that movie, first of all, the delivery of those lines by Brandon Lee, the music, we talked about the music last night. I mean, we are at the apex of grunge music in 93 when that whole thing, I mean, the movie came out in 94, but we're at 93 when that came out, was put together. You had The Cure, which pretty much reinvigorated The Cure for at that time, more of a modern audience. You had 9 Inch Nails, you had Henry Rollins. I mean, you had just a litany of Danzig, I think, was in there as well, and Jane Siberry. So you had a whole bunch of that 90s era artists that were contributing to the soundtrack that rocketed to #1. I mean, the movie itself became like a cultural moment, right? Between the movie, unfortunately, the tragedy, but then the soundtrack as well. Like, you couldn't escape. And that was also a bit of a launching vehicle for Stone Temple Pilots as well. So, just in that respect, I mean, that soundtrack was crazy, but the movie is just so much fun. It is fun. It's a fun movie. And I don't mean that in fun like when you're watching the Fast and the Furious movies, right? And you're like, oh, this is kind of fun or whatever. Or you're watching Predator Dogs, which is no, that's not fun. But,
I think there's something to be said about starting to spend money on kind of silly, frivolous things, and I think it's going to come up when we start talking about our whole round 2 worst movie discussion. So I think I'll leave that for that. But Jesse did respond. He said no, it didn't feel dated at all, which I think is really cool. And Jonathan actually posts another comment here with says the city had a Batman animated series feel, and it felt like it was a mix of a different time periods. Yeah, I think he's totally right. And Scott does agree with you that the music for The Crow was awesome. And I remember at the time I didn't appreciate it because I was kind of like an R&B hip hop head at the time, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. And now and when I watch it now, I'm like, because I listen to everything now because I'm gotten broader spectrum of musical taste. I do remember when he was playing the guitar. I think that's is that the 9 Inch Nails song maybe or whatever. But that was a really cool riff, and I was like, man, I don't know how many people like wanted to learn how to play guitar just so they could, rock the long hair and, just try to strum a couple chords.
Well, and that movie kind of was near the end of when action movies used practical effects, right? I mean, there wasn't really any green screen. The real only special effect that we saw is when he gets shot in the hand and he's looking through and it, and it closes, right? Aside from that, a lot of it was practical. The fighting was all practical effects. I mean, everything that happened was what were practical effects, right? So as opposed to computer generated. So it was made in a budget of $23 million. The director, Alex Proyas, went off and his next movie was, do you remember what his next movie was?
No.
It was with Kiefer Sutherland. I'll give you the hint.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Dark City.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That has a cult following as well, I believe.
It does.
Right?
It has a really intense cult following. I was a huge fan of Dark City. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but unfortunately, I think Alex Proyas he's done a few things and then kind of drifted off, which is too bad because I mean, his eye was amazing for those 2 movies. But I would recommend if anybody hasn't seen The Crow, first of all, you have to. You owe it to yourself. As a fan of movies, as a fan of comics, as a fan of horror, as a fan of action, you owe it to yourself to watch it. If you haven't seen it in a long time, rewatch it and you'll be surprised at how amazing it is. I think this is one of those movies, John, for me, I'm going to be watching this thing for years and years and years. Like I said last night,
and every
once or twice a year.
Yeah, we kind of touched it on a little bit during the podcast, but every performance is, I feel, pretty solid. Like every character, even like little bit characters, even the little henchman. Yeah, Biling did a good all right job. We mentioned her a little bit. We don't want to get too much into her career, like transporter and things like that. But she did a really good job in it. Like even just like regular thugs and stuff like that. Jesse mentions he did really like the symbolism of the rain, which I actually forgot about. And when he's finished and done everything, he says the rain stops, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like he says, as soon as his soul got peace, the world stopped crying and raining. So like I think that's really cool.
It can't rain all the time.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. All right. Rob's gonna sing a couple bars for us.
Do you remember the name of the band, of Brandon Lee's band?
I think it was called like the Hangmans or something like that.
The Hangman's Joke.
Hangman's Joke. Oh man, what a cool name! I always wanted I always wanted to start a band. Band. I can't talk today. I should have definitely got that Johnny Walker going. But I always wanted to start a band. But I have zero musical talent, and I wanted to call the band Forged Documents. I don't know why. But I just thought it sounded cool. And coming up next, Forged Documents, and I don't know. It would definitely have to be a rock band of some kind. But yeah, anyways, anyone can have that idea. Just give me credit and invite me to your shows. Because man, right. I miss live music.
Yeah.
All right. So that's The Crow. We definitely recommend watching it. I don't know if we have to mention
anything else you want to say. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Oh, you know what, Andre? Sorry, last night because we were live, Andre did try pipe in the comments, and apparently because The Crow was written originally by James O'Barr, and I think if I'm not mistaken, you guys have a signed. Is it a lithograph or is it?
Yeah, we have an old lithograph of the image is the crow holding up like a bowl of some kind. I don't know if you recall what it's from, and it is signed by James O'Barr. We should dig it up. We had a whole bunch of kind of stuff when we first opened that had signatures from big deal people. We used to have a Bob Kane piece and kind of and all kinds of stuff like that. So it might be buried somewhere in the archives of Heroes World. So we definitely should dust that off and put it out.
And is it true that you guys, and we've mentioned it on this show a few weeks ago, that there's a Diamond Select Crow PVC statue coming out soon?
Yes. Yeah, I forgot to check the date for you, Rob, so I'll have to look that up. But yeah, they're new Diamond Select. So I did. You probably see me post pictures of the Batman '89 statue. So they're doing a really good line of affordable statues, and one of them is the Crow, and it features the Crow kind of. It looks like he's walking away from the broken window with the crow on his shoulder. So very, very iconic image. I used to have the McFarlane figure.
So did I.
I think you said you don't know what happened to it.
No, I know, and I'm so upset because I loved it. It was a nice figure, man.
I think we sold it out of box at a show once just because it was kind of kicking around for too long. And then I did have the Hot Toys Crow figure, and I regret kind of selling it because it's just you got all these things coming in and out of your collection. You're like, oh, you know what, this was kind of expensive. Maybe I'll let go of it. And now I'm like.
Because it's so iconic. That's the whole thing. Even like Jesse's saying he's going to go buy the DVD. Even the cover of the DVD, the poster of this movie. I had the poster on my wall because it was just so amazing. Yeah. I mean, I could go. Honestly, dude, I can go on for hours about this movie because it tickles me fancy, man. So
yeah. If you guys want to go on a super deep dive, maybe we'll come back to it and we'll watch because there exists an extended edition, I think, and I think there is overseas. There's a remastered version which they cleaned up the image. So I didn't get a chance to look into that, but I remember seeing some information, some snippets about it, but I didn't get a chance to dive into it. So let's move on from The Crow.
That's The Crow. It's a great comic book movie, John. And you know what's not a good comic book movie? The one that's over my shoulder right here.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to narrow it down. All right, so we're gonna talk. we're gonna head over to our brackets. So what maybe some of you guys have been waiting for the show is we're gonna get back to our worst comic movie bracket.
Oh, it's so tough to pivot.
And I'm gonna try and throw it on screen. Again, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to read this. Let's try and magnify it. I think I already did magnify it here, so you can't really see it. But so we've already determined round one.
It's a good size. So,
yeah. So you can check out round one in our last episode, kind of how we determined the winners here. And we got a round two here, which does feature Green Lantern versus Batman and Robin, Daredevil versus Dark Phoenix, Catwoman versus Fantastic, spelled FANT4STIC.
Why do you say it like you're Shaggy? You're not Shaggy. So
Hey,
Are you Mr. Fantastic?
New Mutants and Superman 4 Quest for Peace. And I haven't watched New Mutants yet, but no matter how bad it is, I don't think it stands a chance in this fight. I think Quest for Peace. But today we've chosen to kind of dive into the whole Daredevil versus X-Men Dark Phoenix. So if you guys have seen that, awesome. If you haven't seen it, hopefully we're going to save you from that torture. I think I saw Fraser got called out for spoilers, but I think in this case, the more you get it spoiled, the less incentive you have to watch it, and he's saving everybody time. Lewis is in the chat. What up, Lewis? And he says he won't even watch that X-Men movie. And yeah, we're gonna no, man. We're gonna save you the time right now, because we're gonna go full spoiler, because we have to talk about this movie and we have to talk about who's gonna win this matchup, Daredevil versus X-Men Dark Phoenix. And I think we'll talk a little bit about Daredevil first, Rob.
Yeah.
Because I think we're pretty sure who the winner of this fight is gonna be. And I'll admit, I'm a little surprised. I actually thought Daredevil was going to the finals, because a lot of people, when we first proposed the idea of this list, 2 movies were named right away, and that was Green Lantern and Daredevil.
Right.
But you might not have had time to see the insult that is X-Men Dark Phoenix. So let's talk a little bit about Daredevil. So Rob recalls a time when he left the theater.
I do.
And he was so hyped about this movie.
I remember having an argument like for years with this buddy of mine, Keaton, and I was like, dude, that is like one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen. And he's like, what is wrong with you? I went to the movie theater to see that twice, John. I owned it on I owned it on DVD. I was all for it. I was like, yo, Kevin Smith is in this. He's the morgue scene. He's got the Billy Club, press the buttons. Like, listen, you have to understand that the previous incarnation of Daredevil on any screen, whether it was movie or television, was in the Trial of the Incredible Hulk with Bixby in 1989.
I think he was wearing all black, right? He was wearing all black.
He was all black, and it was atrocious. So for me, this was like the pinnacle. Like, this was like, oh my god, a proper Daredevil movie, even with Ben Affleck.
Was nothing else out at the time? Is that why you're kind of thirst for a superhero movie?
It must. Yes,
this satisfies the thirst right now.
Red leather. You looking back on it, like, okay, it's definitely not the worst. It's not the worst movie, right? Like, and I would probably argue it's not even in the bottom 10 of worst comic book movies, but it's just on the outside of that. It's entertaining to watch. I will say the one thing I did really enjoy is their interpretation of how he sees, like when he was using the rain, like that scene on the rooftop with Jennifer Garner, and he can feel like the rain, and he's like, oh, wait, it's going to rain in a second. And then you see how the rain, and that's how he was using his senses to be able to see. It painted a picture of Elektra for him, right? I thought that was actually really cool.
But that's about it. I didn't see it during the initial hype, so I skipped in theaters. Yeah, unfortunately, at that time, I didn't watch a lot of stuff in theaters, except for like there's a couple particular eras, like The Rock and Eraser, and those movies. I did see a lot of those era movies.
Wait, you saw Eraser?
I did see it. I love Eraser. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams.
Erase it out of my head.
You've been erased. Anyways, if anyone wants to see an Arnold Schwarzenegger dedicated podcast, I could probably do it in my sleep. But anyways, moving on. So I didn't get the chance to check out Daredevil till way later after. So everyone had already trashed it. Everyone had already said it's bad. I watched it and I finished it, and I was like, it's not bad. It wasn't as bad. The worst part I want to say is Colin Farrell's bullseye with the weird indent in his head, and they shaved his head. And he's like, bullseye, and then every time he wanted to kill someone, he would throw 3 things, and a couple of them would miss, and one thing would hit. I'm like, you're bullseye. Why don't you throw one thing and the one thing hits? Like that's your thing, right? Like, but I don't know. Yeah, and I'll get to the comments quickly. We'll probably go back and go through the rest of them. But Jonathan Yo just says the Kingpin portrayal wasn't bad, which was one of the Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin was pretty cool. I remember the trailer very distinctly, and they played nerd song called Lap Dance, and it sounds it's like it's a notorious like a stripper theme. I think it's like down 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 down, and then it goes, I'm a dirty dog, and then it kind of scrolls up and you see Michael Duncan Clark with the cigar as Kingpin, and he looked so cool. So he really, I think he really killed like the image there. So that was definitely a cool version of Kingpin. But oh, sorry, Robbie, are you on mute? I think we lost Rob's music.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and he was in that slick white suit with the really that bright red rose on his lapel and stuff like that. Like, yeah, his portrayal of Kingpin I was cool with it, man. And the guy's imposing. I mean, obviously he passed away a number of years ago, but he's imposing, that deep voice and his size. It was perfect casting. Better than John Rhys Davies as the Kingpin from the Hulk movie. But
yeah, the definite worst thing that I remember about that movie was, I think, Daredevil and Jennifer Gardner. Not Jennifer Gardner, Elektra. Let's use the proper names. So yeah, and I also will admit I didn't watch this because I watched X-Men Dark. I was gonna rewatch this, and then I watched X-Men Dark Phoenix, and I'm like, there's no need for me to rewatch Daredevil because there's gonna be a very clear winner to this fight. But there's a scene where they fight on a playground.
Yeah, the swing set.
It's I remember being very awkward and kind of bad.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was supposed to look like a choreographed dance, but it looked really bad. But you know what? This is a time before your kind of like main actors. You know, not everyone kind of turned into, you know, Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, and doing like their own stunts and stuff. So having the faces of your actors, but I feel like they should have just written the scene out. But maybe they thought it was a cool idea at the time.
Affleck came out of this is off of Good Will Hunting, and I think was just around the Armageddon time, right? So I mean, he was still pretty bankable, still young. I mean, he's still young looking to see him in that movie. So I said to you off the air, I had a whole bunch of these movies, and I don't know where they've gone. I don't know if I gave them away, if I threw them away. They might be in storage. So I'm going purely on recollection because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to rent the movie again before this, but I have enough that I remember.
He does make the double D symbol, right? The blind guy makes a double D out of lighter fluid, which is always a funny concept. And it did happen in The Crow, but I feel like The Crow, it actually made more sense. But this one,
and it happened in Batman, The Dark Knight Rises too. Right, with the bat symbol.
Oh yeah. That one was way too elaborate for him to kind of do quickly. I feel like he like using lighter fluid to make a quick, you know, Punisher. Like, I think Andre mentioned it, the Punisher scene where he had a whole bunch of cars blow up in the perfect pattern to form a skull. I feel like spraying the lighter fluid into a couple letters is actually not that far of a stretch. So I guess I have to forgive the movie for that, right? But yeah. So long story short, I think this movie.
Okay, so that's
going to lose this fight. Yeah,
that's our thought in the movie, but it is up against, guys and girls listening, the juggernaut. How much money did they put in this budget? Like $130 million.
I think it was 200 million. I think
no,
200
really?
million. I don't know. You want fact check? I'll go through the comments here. We'll skip the X-Men comments, so people still send them, but we're going to get back to them. So Lewis says Daredevil is still watchable. Yeah. Fraser says I'll watch Daredevil apart from the bullseye. It's not that bad. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Fraser does mention he forgot about Eraser, and I say, how dare you?
Oh my God, you're right.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger shoots the gator and he's like, your luggage. That was such a classic line. Again, if anyone wants to go toe to toe with me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was my guy. That's second place was Jean-Claude Van Damme, probably. Jonathan Yodas, Kingpin Betrayal.
So you're right. X-Men Dark Phoenix budget was $200 million. Okay, so they spent
where is it?
You know what? I will be very. I'll tell you where it is. It's in the best scene of the movie, and that is the train scene at the end. You can tell. I actually rewatched that scene today because, first of all, that's the best part of the entire that fight and choreography on the train is phenomenal. I have to say, if you're gonna. There has to be a certain amount of respect given for what they did in that train scene and that battle sequence and fight sequence. But you can tell that that's where all of that money went, was strictly on that stuff. Everything else, they're just like, we have nothing else. we'll throw some fucking debris and we'll say, whoa, like it was here, to get a hair dryer and we'll blow some paper.
Yeah. All right. So I'll throw my thoughts and then we'll let Rob go a little bit more deeper. So I actually didn't even get to the end because I watched enough of it to know that there is no turning around that this movie could any way, shape, or form become better. So I've watched up and I think I've got maybe like 20-30 minutes left in it.
You have to watch the end, man. You're committed at that point.
I'm gonna, because I knew it was gonna move on to the semifinals. So I'm like, I'll finish watching it and I'll watch whatever in round 2 makes it to the semifinals as well. But it's mostly, and I think Scott mentions it earlier in our comments, it's the expectation. So this is, I don't know who wants to take the time to count how many X-Men movies are. This is like I want to say it's like the 6th or 7th or more, and they treated it like, I feel like, that Generation X TV movie that came out like a million years ago. I feel like it was on the level of that with what they were doing with the characters. Like all the money clearly went into special effects. So it was kind of like, so some modern movies, like Rob touched on a little bit earlier, Fast and Furious and things like that, they're throwing money at the screen for special effects. So it feels like they were just like, okay, let's do this Phoenix effect. Let's go into space. Let's do Nightcrawler teleporting a million different ways. Let's do Magneto. Man, Magneto's powers are the slowest thing on every movie screen. So I don't know if they speed up towards the end, but it's like the slowest banister rip to do something. I'm like, you would be shot in the head because you take so long to stop a bullet. But like they clearly did not. Like, I would like to know the breakdown of how much they spent on that script. And this director, right? Rob probably knows.
Kinsberg.
Yeah, he's a legit director, right? He's not some Joe Schmo or M. Night Shyamalan or something like that. Like he's a good director, I believe.
Well, no. He's not. He hasn't really directed. He's mostly known for like being a producer and writer. In fact, I believe he only has
writes
3
and directs this.
He's only had 3 credits to his name as director. An episode of The Twilight Zone, Dark Phoenix, and something called The 355.
Okay, well, I've heard his name before. I don't know.
Well, no, he's been because he's really involved with all of the entire X-Men universe through Fox. Okay, so he was one of the main producers. So every X-Men movie, the Deadpool movie, Simon Kinberg was involved with.
Yeah, and it was clearly and then the characters. So I'll start in a little bit about the characters. I'll probably just lose my train of thought, but Jennifer Gardner 100% did not want to be there.
No, Jennifer Lawrence, not Jennifer Garner.
Sorry, Jennifer. Yeah, well, she knew not to show up either. But Jennifer Lawrence, to like she showed up. She looked good. The Mystique costume looked okay, but like if I can see why she didn't want to be there, because if you read that script and read what they're going to do to your character and the lines you're going to deliver and the story arc and the kind of like the purpose that you're going to serve, like the way they so we're going to go like full spoilers, anyone, and I enjoy spoiling this for people because I don't want you to watch this because it's pretty bad. They kill her just out of the blue, no reason. Reason, but like such a lame way for her. She gets pushed and impaled, and then that's it.
First of all, I like your pun of saying "out of the blue." Very on the nose, John.
100% intentional. I wrote that right here.
Second of all, her outfit, her costume, her Mystique costume. It was just her hands and her face, man. And all the other movies, she's full Mystique. And this one, she doesn't want to get. She's like, I don't have time. I'm only in this for 15 minutes. I'm not doing the whole entire body thing. I'm wearing clothes, and that's it. So she was only Mystique proper for like that scene outside of Jean Grey's house or childhood house, where she dies. That was it. So Jennifer Lawrence is like, I'm out, man. I'm an Academy Award winning actress.
Yeah, you could totally tell she didn't want to be there, and I 100% don't blame her. I'm like, if I saw that script and I was contracted to do that, and they didn't let you out, and they wouldn't write something better for you, because there could have been a better way to kind of like present that idea, because I guess the whole idea is that she kills Mystique and Magneto's pissed, and now you have that kind of like multiple people wanting to come at her, but like, oh man, like I can't do anything but shake my head at the whole plot. And I'm usually not a big critic on like,
well, it kind of ruins.
Yeah,
I don't understand, because it kind of ruins the timeline, and this can be confusing, but we all know Rebecca Romijn at the time, Stamos, was Mystique because she actually shows up in X-Men First Class. Jennifer Lawrence transforms into Rebecca Romaine lying in bed trying to seduce Magneto, right? So like, you know, there was that little tongue-in-cheek, hey, you know, nod to the original trilogy stuff. Now you've killed her off. Like, and I don't know if that gets rewritten because of Days of Future Past, but that happened before. And then, like, I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. Just, you shouldn't have brought her back. For what purpose?
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they spent $200 million on this movie and it is the umpteenth, like, so Fraser actually gave us a rundown of the X-Men movies. So let's see what he says. So he says X-Men 1, 2, 3, Origins, the Wolverine. I don't know if we can count Wolverine Origins and Logan in there, so let's take that off for now. So X-Men 1, 2, 3.
Kinsberg was a producer on all those.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go with just pure X-Men. So First Class, Days of the Future Past, Apocalypse, and then this one, I think. So that is seven X-Men movies, and this was treated like a TV movie or worse.
Well,
like,
the
worst what I mean?
part, John, is that you know that Simon Kinsberg actually wrote X-Men 3, The Last Stand, which is loosely based on the Dark Phoenix saga.
So he had two tries at this.
He had 2 kicks in the can.
And proceeded to
both times
fuck up both of them.
Yes. I don't yeah, man. You know what? I agree with you, John. This movie is a turd. It is it aside from that train, like I said, that train fight sequence, that's the only great thing. The rest of it is shit. I own this movie because I'm a completionist, because I have every other X-Men movie.
You're a sucker. I said it before. You're a sucker.
I couldn't even get it. Like, I was expecting it to come out and then immediately drop to like the $15, and it didn't. I bought this thing at the $24.99 price point after like it had been out for a while. I don't know why it didn't go on sale.
Oh man, that's $24.99 you'll never get back. I feel like it's a purposeful, because it's not on Disney Plus.
Oh, right? No, I think it is now. Oh, no, maybe not yet. No, maybe not yet.
It wasn't. Last time I checked, it wasn't on there, because I was like, me and my friends had considered going to go see it because we have seen the other ones, and
in the theater, right?
Yeah, and we saw Apocalypse, and it wasn't that great. So we were like, oh, maybe they'll turn it around, or maybe we should just cap it off. But thank God we dodged that bullet. Like, oh my God, like, here, Lewis puts it perfectly. He's like, throwing it in a trash compactor won't make it better, from what I take it. So, I don't know what you could do with that. I guess you can slide it into your collection. But I feel like because this was potentially not going to be released, right? So I feel like they should have went with that.
Yeah, well, there was a lot before this came out, and I feel like it was delayed. There was a lot of buzz because there was like hints that Dazzler might be in it. You had the
for a whole 2 seconds,
right? You had the production photos of them being in the mall, and you're like, oh wow, like they are. You know what it was kind of not the same level, but kind of how excited we are about Wonder Woman being like in 1984. This is taking place in the 80s, and so we had that like cool nostalgic factor, the neon, the parachute pants. You're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, X-Men in the 80s, and it was just not. It was it was almost like Knights of the Old Republic video game. You promised me something good, and it didn't.
Okay, don't throw shade at that game. You're gonna get butchered for that. So, we're gonna ignore that part. But go on, Rob.
At any rate, but this movie did not deliver on what it was promising. X-Men,
80s, Dark Phoenix. Like, there's so many things that should have lined up, and like they could have just not gone with the Dark Phoenix. Like, if they couldn't achieve it. Jonathan actually says he tried to watch it to prepare for this episode, and emphasis on tried here. So I'm pretty sure he hit the eject button maybe maybe before or after the X-Women line. I don't know.
Hey, so if the last thing I want to mention about this movie that really irritates me is that Evan Peters' portrayal of Quicksilver was really cool when we first saw it in it was Days of Future Past, I think, right? No, it wasn't first. What was after First Class? Was it First Class that he was in? Maybe it was. At any rate, we saw him in that. We were like, okay, it was really cool.
No, it was the Wolverine one. Yeah, Days of Future Past. Was
that
Wolverine
the first time we saw?
Yeah, Wolverine goes and finds him, and he helps them break Magneto out. Very so cool.
Yeah, and it was awesome. So you saw him in that, and then he did the exact same trick in Apocalypse, and then he did the exact same thing in this one. And it's like, okay, everybody loved that scene of him breaking Magneto out of the maximum security below the CIA headquarters in futures past. You went to the well one too many times. You just keep showing us the same stuff. Yes, we know he's able to run on top of debris flying everywhere, and he's, turning people's heads. Like, okay, you did it for Apocalypse. Oh, and look, you're doing it again for this movie. Like, so I don't know. For me, I would love to have a debate, not tonight, but at one point, of which is worse, this one or X3, because they're kind of the same storyline.
I feel like this is definitely worse than X3, because I was thinking that too. I'm like, oh, X3 didn't make it to our second round, and I'm like, yeah, it would have lost to this. So this is definitely the best worst representation of X-Men films, and especially when you take into account Expectations being the 7th film, costing 200 expectations. Stop being a jerk. No one would have noticed if you just kept letting me talk. But yeah, so seven movies, $200 million budget. Bunch of famous people attached to it. Like, what a waste of the Professor James McAvoy and
Michael Fassbender.
Oh,
and that was other guy.
I feel bad. Jennifer Lawrence. I feel bad for them wasting your time. And then it even had a Hans Zimmer soundtrack, right? Hans Zimmer did the music, and you're like, what? So I really want
Jessica Chastain.
The money.
Jessica Chastain. She's a great actress. What the hell? Who was she? What was her purpose? She's so walking around with like a white wig.
I assume they're going to explain it later. And you're telling me that they potentially don't explain it. I was like, who's this character? Why is she so powerful? Why are they focusing on this shot of Jean Grey doing something to Professor X that's turning him into a tree? Or I don't know what they're doing to him. And why is this shot so long? And it definitely cost them a lot of money to do this. And then they made him walk up the stairs like funnily. And like you're like, why? Why are they doing this? Like I think after that scene is where I hit. Okay, I've seen enough. This is going to the semifinals, and I'll watch the rest for the finals. But I don't know. They're going to be up against Green Lantern versus Batman and Robin. So whoever wins that fight, I don't think they're going to be able to beat this movie. So this movie is potentially going all the way, folks.
Yeah, it potentially could. We could see a showdown between this and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. That could be a final showdown.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that,
no,
Rob. I'm gonna go ahead and push it through. So we're gonna open this window here, and I'm gonna put Daredevil into the semifinals. No, whoop, not Daredevil.
Oh no, what have you done?
Let's change that. X-Men Dark Phoenix, because that would have been a disaster. X-Men Dark Phoenix moves on to our semifinals. I don't know if anyone in the chat wants to kind of chime in and let us know what you want to hear about next week. Do you guys want to watch Green Lantern versus Batman and Robin?
Yeah,
or do we want to do Catwoman and Fantastic? God. I feel like I've seen Fantastic Four recently, so I only have to watch Catwoman.
I don't really want to rewatch it, man. It's so bad.
and then it's New Mutants versus Superman 4: Quest for Peace. And I feel like we can't really cheat this one. I think we should at least watch New Mutants, even though it is going to get annihilated by Superman 4, bearing anything like spectacular. And how crazy would it be to have two X-Men kind of cutting board movies to showdown if it somehow makes it past that bracket?
Oh man, I you know what, last week I was not happy with some of our advancements, but this one there is no denying that this is a pant load. It's a pant load of a movie. It's a flaming turd that Scott Graziano would be putting out
while it's being flushed down the toilet.
That's right. Yeah, it's horrible. So, hey, to those who haven't watched it, and if this podcast has piqued your interest to watch this movie, then we have failed you, and I would redirect you to watch The Crow instead.
It's literally a slap in the face of the movie, like the movie industry. You know what I mean? The movie like this gets made with so much money, and people go and spend their hard-earned money on it, and these actors and actresses, and I feel bad for the VFX people. Like some of the VFX does, like I would say actually almost all the VFX does look really good, but the movie is so bad that if you as an artist put this on your demo reel, they'll totally ignore it, because they'll be like, that movie was so bad.
Yeah, I got nothing else, man.
I got nothing.
To quote John Ho, I got nothing. I
got nothing. Yeah. So I don't know if we want to talk about anything. That's our hour, folks.
Yeah,
If anyone else wants to get at us in the comments quickly before we sign off, what do we got coming up? So
Wednesday. So as we mentioned before, the Mandalorian episode is still out. So obviously give it a listen or a watch if you haven't done that. Wednesday, the new episode drops on our audio channels, but you can actually watch it right now on YouTube or on Facebook, and that's where we discuss Damned Cursed Children with Howard Wong and Josh Stafford. There's a lot to uncover about that book. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool horror themed book that's coming out January 27th. Call John, call Andre, get your
let us know. I've already got a couple pre-orders of people.
I'm super stoked for it.
Or just looking forward to supporting local guys. We should shout out Josh's theater, the Mayfair.
The Mayfair in Ottawa. Yeah.
I didn't take the virtual tour yet, but it's a 1930s movie theater.
Yeah.
That's got all kinds of fun, like kind of pulp and I guess geek culture stuff.
For those, and for those in Toronto, if you've been to it's a single theater. It's all it is, a single screen theater. So if you've been to the Royal down on College Street, you'll understand what type of a theater this is. It's a single theater, old school. It's got the balconies and everything else like that. And as John mentioned, he's got he had an actual like full size alien replica statue or whatever on the balcony overlooking, and it's a pretty funny story about how he came to acquire that, and it's a bit of a funnier story about how he came to lose it. So so definitely that was John, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a pretty cool place. So the Mayfair theater out in Ottawa, that
would be like something out of history. Like if you've ever driven an older car, like I've driven like an old Mustang with the old drum brakes and things like that, and those type of things transport you back in time. So being in a theater like this, like I do love modern theaters, the big sound, and all the amenities and stuff like that. But being able to go to a theater like this would be a very cool feat. So I know I don't know if we have anything like that around here. Closest thing I can think of is Imagine Cinemas. They're kind of like a stripped down movie chain, which I do enjoy going to watch movies there.
Nothing I can think of in York, but just in Toronto. Again, the Royal is still operating, and there's a couple other ones I feel like around Bloor Street. So there's just these cool old school theaters, man. Movie houses. That's what it is. Movie house. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
John.
So, yes.
Love you, buddy. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. We've gotten to do this like 2 nights in a row, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So if people want to see more live content like this, definitely hit us up. Like I said, I'm game. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme. You want to talk about those guys? Jackie Chan. I'm in. There's a lot of guys that I used to follow heavily back in the day.
Wow.
So Rob,
Jeff Speakman, the perfect weapon.
Oh, I do remember Jeff Speakman, the perfect weapon. He had the ring, with the dragon on one side
and the tiger on the other.
Tiger on the other side. He was a Kempo karate expert.
Yeah.
And the perfect weapon actually had a couple follow-ups. Unfortunately, Jeff Speakman, I don't think he had many movies after that. But if you want to talk about movies of that era, Don the Dragon Wilson, Jeff Speakman,
even Seagal.
Steven Seagal, early Steven Seagal is fun times. But yeah, we can definitely do that. But anyways, Rob, you can find him on Instagram and Twitter under at Rob Gaudette, Gaudette. Me, you can find me on the Heroes World social media. So Heroes World Online on the Facebook and Instagram is the most active. If you're liking these live streams, definitely follow us on the YouTube. Whenever it pops up, hit that reminder, get the notification bell. It'll let you know when we're going live. If you're on Twitch, you can follow us on Twitch, which is a great platform. We actually probably should push it a little bit more. So if you're on Twitch, definitely give us a follow, and our schedule is up there as well. But thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for having fun with us. We'll dive into our next round. Maybe we'll do a social media poll. Maybe we should decide now. Should we do Catwoman? That only requires me to watch one movie between now and then. Unless we can both squeeze in New Mutants just to give it a fair shake. Because I don't even know if we have to watch Superman 4 Quest for Peace again until we get to the semifinals.
Let's just do Catwoman. We'll do Catwoman and Fantastic Four. And I'm going to watch them both this week.
Oh, you're hardcore, man. I don't think I'm going to do Fantastic Four again. I watched it this year. So I don't have to do it again. But Catwoman, I definitely will watch Halle Berry. All right. Cool. Halle Berry. Thank you for tuning in, folks.
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
gonna rock the intro. Shout outs to Joey, who again could not be with us and might not be back until the new year. But we miss you, Joey. You can follow her at the Captain Canary and Pixel Popper on Instagram. Yeah. So let's play the outro, and hopefully it doesn't muck up. So I definitely will redo that file. All right. Peace out, folks.
See you guys.